Welcome to the Global Marketing Show, the podcast for all things international business. I'm your host, Wendy Pease, president of Rapport International and a translation expert. Come along with me today as we talk to an expert in the global marketing world about facing their biggest fears, hearing about mistakes they made or saw, discussing best practices, and sharing fun travel, language, and culture stories. Okay, welcome to the Global Marketing Show. I'm very excited to be recording live here at the Resi Conference in Boston. And as you know, the Global Marketing Show is brought to you by Rapport International. And they always like to give us a tidbit to start out with, so we'll do that too. And did you know that twisting your nose when you're in France signals that you see a drunk person? I didn't know that, but now I know when people are twisting their nose that that's what's going on. And I think it's so appropriate for today because our guest is from Canada, so we can ask her if it's the same in the French-speaking part of Canada. Our guest is Catalina Vasquez, and she's from Nanostics. She's co-founder and CEO. So Catalina, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited to be here today.
Yes, yes. So is it the same thing? Do people in Canada, the French-speaking part, wrinkle their nose?
Not that I know of, no.
Yes, see, there's very big cultural differences, even if you speak the same language. So tell me about your company and what brings you to Resi.
Yeah, so Nanostics is a diagnostics platform company founded in 2017 with the mission of providing clarity to our patients and doctors about their health status by providing better diagnostics. At the core of Nanostics, very quickly, little science, what we do is we use machine learning to integrate clinical data from the patient along with standard of care biomarkers or some proprietary biomarkers. We combine it using machine learning to come up with a risk score, which is a prediction of the presence of the disease. And our first test is in prostate cancer. It's called ClarityDX Prostate in Canada. We just launched in the United States yesterday, so
Wow.
this sounds very timely. I'm very happy to announce that.
Yes.
And the name in the United States is going to be CDX Prostate, and is basically an algorithm that predicts the risk of having clinically significant or high-grade prostate cancer.
Wow, well, that's such good news that you launched here. So tell me a little bit about your journey. You started in Canada, and is the U.S. the first you're going into? Like, what's your global launch plan?
Right. I'm going to start with a little bit of a story and then answer with your question. So this the company on the test was born based on the vision and trust of a gentleman called Frank Sojonky. Frank Sojonky, unfortunately, was diagnosed with prostate cancer late. And that meant that his cancer metastasized and he died from prostate cancer, unfortunately. But before he died, he made his mission to help research to develop better tests for early diagnosis of prostate cancer. So through his vision and his fundraising efforts, in partnership with the Alberta Cancer Foundation, which is a local foundation in the province of Alberta, they got the funding to support our research. And as a product of that, we developed ClarityDX Prostate. When we developed that in 2017, we launched the company and continued working, validating the test. So we did an international clinical study, recruited over 3,400 patients in Canada, the United States, and Europe.
Okay,
validated the test.
Yes. Hang on, you got to dig deeper into that in that story. So you did international clinical studies.
Right.
A lot of companies are afraid of doing clinical studies outside of their own country because they're afraid of the culture, the language, the regulatory environment, the IP protection, all of that. So talk to me about how you decided to do that and how it played out.
Well, it was a no-brainer. We wanted to ensure that the product we launch, if at the end we ended up having a product, was solid. We didn't want to have them bugging your mind, hesitating, doubting if the test is really good, right? So we decided to validate it in multiple cohorts with multiple groups, including UCLA, Johns Hopkins, University of Calgary, University of Alberta, and Thom Mayer University in Europe.
And so how did you find them and establish relationships enough to do that?
through our network, because we started as an academic research program thanks to the funds from the Bird Dogs and the Alberta Cancer Foundation. For over 5 years, we were able to develop this massive biorepository and database. And through that, we were able to collaborate with multiple institutions across the world. And we created a lot of very strong relationships and connections with them. And so that has helped us with the validation plan.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. And did you have any struggles or challenges when you were doing your clinical trials? Like, what advice would you have?
Yes. You know what happened? We launched the clinical trial and then COVID hit.
Oh, no.
So for about a year, the clinics were closed. We opened multiple sites in the United States.
Yeah.
We sent all the material. We paid all the fees. We had ethics approvals. And then COVID hit. And they no longer had patients come to the clinic. So they couldn't recruit any patients. So we had about 5 sites across North America that we could never recruit patients. So then, but there were other sites that later on opened. And so then we started doing the recruitment there.
Okay, so if you're launching internationally, don't do it during the year of a major epidemic. How about some of the other challenge? I guess that one would be the big one.
Right.
After that, everything was easy.
In reality, it was it was after COVID weighing down, and it was actually quite easy to recruit for this study because patients really, really wanted to help. So out of 100 patients, 97, 98 of the patients would have need to participate in the study. So once that waned down, the recruitment was super quick. We were able to recruit 1,500 patients in less than a year.
Wow. And did you recruit only in English or did you use any other language?
Only in English.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So all of your work has only been done in English?
In
to this
English.
point? Oh,
That's
my
right.
goodness.
That's right.
Wow.
Having said that, at
Yeah.
this very moment, we're enriching our cohorts with patients from Latin America and African American descent in the United States, and that will support our FDA application.
Oh, to get more of the cross-cultural representation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you going to reach out to the Latin American communities?
So what we're doing is we're partnering with institutions that serve a lot of those communities. And so they're going to provide us with the data we need to do the validation. As we speak, we are working with some groups in Michigan, Maryland, and Florida.
Which have heavy Spanish-speaking populations.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So then you'll have to translate all the recruit materials and patient authorizations and doing that.
Right.
Okay.
And then so when we launched the test, we had our own little accredited lab in Alberta. So we initially launched in Alberta about a year ago.
Okay.
But then what we have been doing is because we recognize that the test is very beneficial for a lot of men to avoid unnecessary biopsies, and we want to make it available to any men anywhere in the world, we started expanding. So from Alberta, then we have been partnering with multiple labs in in Canada to offer the test in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Quebec, and the Yukon in the territories as well. And we launched in the United States, in Florida, with our partner, Protean Biodiagnostics, yesterday. And then we are also announcing, when is this airing? Because tomorrow we're announcing another partnership with a lab called OncoHelix that will serve the Middle East and North Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So this is the big announcement of your expanding globally into the Middle East. Congratulations.
Yes.
What good time.
Thank you very much. And we're also announcing later on a partnership with a lab called Prime Diagnostics in Colombia, and that will serve Latin America.
Okay, so talk to me more about these partnerships. What kind of partnerships are they and how will they be using your diagnostics?
Right. So the advantage of ClarityDX Prostate is that it is a software as a medical device. It's an algorithm. What that means is we don't need blood samples. We don't need to run advanced complex molecular tests that bind you to a particular lab that is the only lab that can run it. Because we use clinical data and lab data that is part of standard of care, like PSA testing, pre-PSA testing. Virtually any lab in the world could run those tests.
Yes.
So what we do is we partner with specific labs that have a large representation in the community, in the country, that have a vast network and a good number of patients. And so we partner with them for them to offer these tests to their communities. So they run the PSA tests, send us all the data we need, we run the algorithm, and then send the results back to them.
Okay, so they're already gathering the information, but when they send
Right.
it to you, you've figured out how to project whether.
Exactly.
So you're telling them as to whether they're going to get prostate cancer, right? It's an early detection.
It's early detection. What we do is we come up with the risk that the patient has prostate cancer now. It's not that they're going to develop, it's if they have it now. And we also are able to differentiate between what we call high risk or high grade or aggressive prostate cancer versus indolent prostate cancer. So we
Okay.
discriminate that. And so what we give is a risk score, which is a percentage. So basically we say a patient, hey, you have 85% risk of having clinically significant prostate cancer, or you have 2% risk of having clinically significant prostate cancer. So with that information, then doctors and patients can make a better informed decision of whether or not to biopsy the patient. And this is very important because biopsies come with significant adverse events.
Right.
In fact, we have had patients in our cohorts die of sepsis from the biopsy.
Oh my
For
gosh.
the family to find out later on that the patient did not have prostate cancer.
Oh, that's
So that's what we want to
horrible.
avoid.
That's what,
Up to 85% of biopsies come back negative. So with our test, what we do is we improve the predictive value of the PSA test by up to 4 times.
Wow.
So we can avoid up to 47% unnecessary biopsies. And so what we want to do is make these tests available globally. So then men don't have to undergo biopsies if they don't need them.
Okay, and so you're launching in the US and you're going into the Middle East and South America. Have you done any studies where what markets would be better or like picking which regions that you're going to, or you know that this is needed worldwide?
It is needed worldwide. There are a lot of differences between cultures in terms of prostate cancer screening.
Yeah.
So, for example, one thing I learned I didn't even know, in Colombia, men are more prone to having biopsies even if they don't need them because they're so scared of having the cancer that they don't mind having the biopsy.
Fascinating.
So a lot of men have negative biopsies, a lot of them, which we can help avoid.
Right.
Now, if we go to the Middle East, there is a lot of taboo for men going to the doctor. There is a lot of taboo about around the digital rectal exam. So men don't want the doctor poking, like, and trying to see if the prostate is enlarged, right? So alternatives like these offer a solution where patients don't have to be exposed to the digital rectal exam, for example, if they don't want it. Yeah, because we do have models that work without digital rectal exam. But for those, for example, in Canada and the United States, where there is availability of digital rectal exams and MRIs as part of standard of care, then we have additional models that are more advanced that provide higher level of accuracy. So basically what we're doing is we're customizing our models to meet the needs of the jurisdictions we work with.
Okay, so you're customizing the models, and then how do you customize the marketing since we are a global marketing show?
Right.
How are you going to market in these places?
Yes, so same. So there is different, like the difference in the language, but also the difference in the message. So for communities like Alberta, for example, we can be a little bit more witty and use certain images and certain terms, but we understand that there are also communities that are more conservative. So for example, in the Middle East, then it will need to be more discreet. So we adapt the marketing, the message, the images that we use based on that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story on this. What are you hoping to get out of the Resi conference here today?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so we're raising money. So we've come this far with only angel dollars and grants, non-dilutive funding. But now, because we are working on expanding and we have achieved a certain level of expansion and market penetration, what we really, really want to do is to have a very aggressive sales and marketing campaign now in North America to ensure all men that can benefit from the test do it.
Well, that's fantastic. So we'll certainly share this episode and you can send it out to the funders. And this is a good place to be to connect it in with Life Science Nation. As a thank you for doing the podcast today, I would like to give you a copy of the book on global marketing.
Thank you very much.
It sounds like it's good timing.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yes, as you're reaching out to to the global markets.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, and
thank you for the
of course,
presence and for the invitation.
we always ask, what's your favorite foreign word? I can't end the podcast without asking that.
Okay, well, actually, I'm going to respond in inverse. So when I lived, I'm from Colombia originally, right? So when I used to live in Colombia, my very favorite foreign word was indeed.
Indeed.
And so now in North America, it's not foreign, but it was foreign to me. So that's my favorite word.
Well, that's
I like how
everybody.
it sounds, and I like how it agrees with what the person is saying. So it's very nice.
Indeed, it does.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode of the podcast. If you're connected at all in this field, certainly send this recording, this episode off to any funders that you know. Let's help the men in our lives with prostate diagnostics. And if you like this episode, please give us a 5 and follow us. We've got some more episodes coming up from the Resi Conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this session. A big thanks to you for listening to the Global Marketing Show. Hope you had just as much fun as I did. New sessions launch weekly on all places you find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and of course on our website. If you know someone interested in this topic, please tell them about us. Au revoir for now.